You see that map there? That is the most dangerous cities in America. You know what the common trend is? They're all Democratic ran. They're all Democratic ran, and they've been Democratic ran upon decades. So why do we keep allowing for these people to stay in power? Well, today we're going to discuss again what should we be doing and making sure that we are informed. And not only that more people get informed. This is where I tell the cities, if you're in the cities and you're conservative, if you're a church, if you're a civic organization, why are you not trying so hard to promote the opposite of what your cities are doing? The cities are pretty much destroying the churches too, but the churches should be the ones to have power. We're going to discuss the cities and the dangers of these that are breaking down. And really it all comes down to Democratic-led cities. Also, we're going to talk about what Tucker Carlson just said. Again, this is when I do agree with Tucker Carlson, because if he stays off this Israel issue, he tends to be brilliant. He made a comment when he was talking to Timberkit and how smart he is when it comes to inside information. And he said, the sad thing is all your Congress, he said, I would say majority of your Congress is completely levered. He said, here's how they're levered, because they've been taken advantage of, which ultimately allows them to vote the way of whomever the one has got leveraged against him. We're going to discuss what Tucker Carlson just said about the Congress. And it should, again, wake you up to realize these people are not actually fighting for you. They're fighting for the people who have information on them. Whew, that's a big one. Also, we're going to discuss this new technology that China has come up with. They said it is capable of taking out all of UK without even the single touch on land. Wow, what is this going on? Why are they developing this? And again, this is why I say the biggest war is not dealing with the Middle East. It's actually not dealing with Russia. It truly is our biggest adversary, China. Our biggest trade partner, China. And also the one that we get most of our goods from, China. This is a big deal. We'll discuss that. And then lastly, where's our DOJ? It now has been confirmed, I mean, in absolute fashion, that 20 CIA and FBI agents have come out as whistleblowers against Barack Obama, John Brennan, about the Russia hoax and how this is the most treasonous move done before Trump was elected. He said, not only this, he said, we're seeing the same confirmations back in 2020. Two situations where both tried to uphold what they wanted and not the will of the people. And why, oh why, has the DOJ not arrested anyone? Zippo arrest. We'll dive into all these stories today and a few more. Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. We are so humbled by you allowing us to speak to you each and every day and share our opinions with you, but also hopefully we can gain common wisdom and try to be smarter as we go throughout the crazy day that we live in. Now let's jump into the stories of the day. Before we do, remember, I do have a vlog channel, Life with Colby Mack. I don't really talk about it much. I don't post on there, but every 2 or 3 times a week, but please go check it out. You see how we live our life on this farm and how we try to live sustainable. You see every aspect of our life, even our children. So please go check that channel out. We do a giveaway on that channel. We actually sent the giveaway out yesterday for that channel. So please make sure you are subscribed to it. Go check out the video, comment below, and we appreciate you subscribing to both channels. Now let's jump into the stories of the day. First, let's talk about this China situation. Then we're going to get into the serious issues with Congress and how, again, they have let us down, and then we'll move on to DOJ. I want to bring this up from China. I think this is huge. It says, this is from Mario Nafal. It says, China is developing a nuclear tsunami bomb that could sink the UK. It says China is working on the next gen underwater weaponry modeled after Russians' Poseidon, a nuclear powered torpedo designed to trigger apocalyptic tsunamis. Now let's stop there for a second. You know, we talk about hurricanes and earthquakes, we talk about manipulation. We're seeing China work on a nuclear bomb that will make an apocalyptic tsunami wave that could decimate UK. They said it could absolutely destroy the whole continent on the outer bands to where all these countries that sit with water on them would destroy their countries. Now, let's think about that for a second. You tell me we can't manipulate. This is actually modeled after the Poseidon bomb that Russia has, and now China's trying to develop it. And why all of a sudden are they bringing up UK? Why all of a sudden are you thinking they're throwing this out? I believe this is a way to manipulate the trade situation that's going on with China and America. Now, they'll be meeting over the next few days and weeks dealing with this trade deal, and I believe all things are on the table. I think actually Trump's peace deal in the Middle East absolutely is a game changer when it comes to the trade deals in China. Why? Even though China's buying some Russian oil, they need OPEC. They need the Middle East because China does not have oil. They depend on everyone else to provide oil. So this could be a trade negotiation dealing with the peace negotiations that Trump just came out of the Middle East with. See, that's what people, when like the libertarians and the woke right come out and they're all mad that Trump is devoting time to the Middle East. It's so much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than just Israel. It's the fact that if you want to negotiate and have leverage with China, you need the OPEC countries and you need the oil countries. No matter what you say about solar and wind and all this, China needs oil. They've said it. China needs oil. So therefore, this could be a great play. So I think this whole thing with Mario Nafal is saying, we're building this tsunami-style apocalyptic weaponry to not only cause problems if we see that we needed to use it, but to show our dominance around the world. I think that's why they didn't say America. They said UK because they know that if they try to step on America's toes too much, this trade negotiation could be very bad. Now, you've heard some of the people coming out from China, some of the attorneys coming out stating that, well, we've been here way before America. We don't need America. Well, without America's trade, China's economy would be in shambles. So I believe this move for this apocalyptic weaponry is actually bigger than just having the weaponry. I think it's dealing with the leverage on the negotiations, dealing with the trade war. Since Trump had the peace negotiations with the Middle East and the oil, what China's saying is we have weaponry to help us keep leverage as well. I think it is basically who's going to play chicken first. Do I believe they'll ever use it? Maybe. I don't believe people build weapons just for the fun of it. I believe they build it just in case. It's an emergency alert system to say, you know what, if something goes bad, we can have a failsafe to protect us. And we can literally cause a tsunami anywhere around the world. What about that weather modification? It's a pretty big deal, huh? Let's keep on going. I'll show you this map again. This is the 50 most deadliest, dangerous cities in America. Every one of those, we go from Chicago, of course, Atlanta, Jacksonville, New Orleans, Houston, Dallas, Tucson, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Sacramento, San Francisco, and the list goes on, Seattle, blah, 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 blah. Every one of these are Democratic-ran cities, or they've just returned to a Republican establishment. Like there's some like Dallas. He is a Democrat, but he just became a Republican. It's not that he's a Republican. He's just basically kind of acting like he is, so then therefore he can keep the votes of a Republican state. These cities have all been led, they said, by Democrats for over roughly 30 to 50 years, 3 to 5 decades. Now, what this means is the people that still live there still vote for these people and think that they're going to change the dynamics. The number one city is Memphis, being the most dangerous right now per capita. That's why Trump sent the troops there. You know, Chicago is really up there too. So when Trump sends these troops in and cleans it up, you know what was not on the list? Here's what's so funny. You know what city was on the list and all of a sudden not on the list anymore? Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. per capita was one of the top 5. Since Trump's troops went in, the crime rates, the murder rates, the homicides have all went down. So it shows what we're doing is actually working, even with Democrats in charge of some of those cities. When Trump and the administration comes in and starts fixing some of these cities, we start seeing people have safer streets. Here's another thing. One thing about these cities too, all of them have churches that have no power. Now what do I mean by that? There's big churches there, but they tend to be seeker-friendly churches. They tend to be churches that are not thriving on making a difference in their community. They tend to be the ones that try to go along with the flow, that try to, not step on the toes. Well, that's the problem with these cities. We need churches that are willing to be the city on the hills, to stand out and to preach and profess Christ, to not meander and not fall at the wayside of standing out in the community. In Seattle right now, they've allowed for people to adopt that are on the offenders list on the LGBT alphabet spectrum. But you know what? They just held up a Christian foster parent, because they would not embrace the orientation that Seattle, Washington said. So we took the rights away from a Christian group of fostering, husband, wife, kids and home, and gave it to some people that are on the offender list just because they were part of the LGBT alphabet. See, this is what this is. This is not just a Democratic problem. This is a church problem. This is a Christian problem. This is a problem where these cities have become modern Sodom and Gomorrah, and we wonder why they're in such shambles. We wonder why people are not safe, because they've lost their way. So yes, does Trump administration and more law enforcement, is that needed? Absolutely. But what's needed more than that is the churches to be the churches again, to stand up and change these areas. Revival can break out in these cities. We see that Washington was once on this list, not anymore. We see that there's other cities that have learned their lesson, but it's taken a turn back to morals and values. What do I want to see from these cities? Well, I want to see people safe. I don't believe government intervention is the answer. I actually believe it's from the ground up. I believe actually if the churches became churches again, the leaders became leaders again, I believe you'd see a movement of reawakening and these cities would become powerhouses again. You know, in modern history, they said when cities fail, when most cities fail in countries, what it did is it absolutely destroyed the whole nation because the majority of people live in cities. They're saying if people would learn to get back to be normal again, morals, values, Christianity, they said the cities would turn around and it would reinvigorate our country to be great. So can Trump have great answers for cities like Memphis, like Washington, D.C.? Yes. But really, I believe the church is the problem because we've lost the power and we've not gave people wisdom and how to vote and see why they're in poverty, why they're in these crime-ridden places, and they keep voting for the same people. Foolishness and insanity keeps doing the same thing over and over. Now let's move on to the two stories dealing with the DOJ and dealing with leverage in the Congress. I want to go to what Tucker Carlson just said. Tucker Carlson says that he has seen and know how U.S. Congress is engaging in very, very taboo things. We're going to keep this PG rated. But he says, I know that they're involved in so many very, very taboo things. He said, I know they're doing a lot of things they shouldn't be doing. He said, but what we've realized, and he said, I've seen it with my own eyes, that D.C. is such a cesspool of sin and immorality that it actually causes for people to be leveraged. He said these congressmen get involved, they get power, and all of a sudden they can't have restraint. He said they end up doing things they shouldn't be doing. He said, and then all of a sudden, the power that they had do not have it anymore. He said the people over them, the leverage, the people that's taking advantage of them, he said they're the ones who have the power. He said a lot of times we don't realize how Congress is so highly levered between the lobbyists and money. He said, but also the manipulation and the fact of their immorality may be exposed. Secrets that we know in D.C. that I've seen, he said, is completely corrupt. He said that's why no one will actually do anything and work for the American people anymore, because the American people are not as important as their own will, their own money, their own power, and absolutely what they've done to put themselves in a very highly leveraged situation. Representative Tim Burchett says foreign countries and corporations have employment agencies where they put women in positions to then turn around and take advantage of a lot of congressmen and entrap them on voting on certain legislations, employing spouses or partners and members of Congress with high-paying jobs and industries so they can potentially have full leverage over these congressmen. He said the old way is outright honeypot operations, to where Congress then gets blackmailed into doing the will of foreign actors. He said we see this all the time. And Tucker Carlson said, I know, I saw it. I saw the corruption. And so I had a guy that used to work in D.C., and he was part of an intel kind of thing. But he said one thing I've realized is I would never want to live in D.C. He said because every night there's a party, every night there's a cocktail hour, every night there's a thing to get together on. He said every night there's manipulation, corruption, and immorality taking place. He said I saw it with my own eyes. He said I could not absolutely live there. I told my wife I would never want to live there. He said because it's so corrupt. It's a swamp. And that kind of leads me to the next story. If we know that we can't have favor with these congressmen, why do we keep electing them? We need to quit electing these people. Prime example, listen to this. This is from basically Jesse Waters, but he said 20 CIA and FBI agents have confirmed, and they were whistleblowers, so they all came out and stated this is what happened. They gave their names and said, this is what took place. We saw it with our own eyes. That Barack Obama personally worked with former CIA Director John Brennan to create a fake Russia hoax. He said they hid the operations inside the classified CIA for nearly a decade. 20 agents, one conspiracy, and a president caught red-handed. He said every situation has now been proven. But yet, no one has been arrested. They also came out, there was another group of FBI agents that have exposed the fact that during November 3rd of 2020, dealing with all the other, when Trump was, of course, the next election that he did not win, that Biden won, they said that there was treasonous things that went on there too. So we see a president that was held down. We see a president that was thrown out. So the will of the people actually did not supersede the will of Barack Obama and the establishment or the DC swamp. So this goes back to the story I just said with Tucker Carlson and Tim Burchett, that the people in DC are not looking out for the American people. That's why I tell you to be independent, sustainable, and try to figure out the best ways to not depend on the government. Because when we depend on the government, when we depend on Bitcoin, when we depend on stablecoins, when we depend on the WEF, when we depend on BlackRock, when we depend on all these people, when we depend on Medicare expansion, we depend on Medicaid, we depend on all this stuff that the government builds, it actually puts us in a precarious situation, because every one of these situations absolutely represents that they were not looking out for you. They were looking out for their best interests. From the Congress being highly leveraged to literally to where DOJ has not yet arrested anyone that absolutely has proof. 20 FBI agents and CIA agents have come out and said the Obama and the Biden administration, with Brennan, with a lot of people like Clapper, there's a list of like 50 men who worked to hold down the election results in both elections. Now, why is this important? Can you change the past? No, but what you could do is you could actually see the DOJ do their job. Do I like the fact that they're arresting a lot of people and FBI is cleaning up the cities? I love that. But why don't we look at the high-profile people that actually corrupted our government, that tried to rule over its people in a dictatorship, and why are we not arresting them? If you don't want to arrest a president because he has immunity, you better arrest everyone that he gave orders to, that follow those orders to do the will of him and not the will of American people. But yet, Pam Bondi, goose egg on DOJ. I'm actually glad that Matt Gaetz didn't win. I was happy with him, but man, he's went off the rails. But Pam Bondi's no better. Why can't we get someone in there that actually wants to do the will of the people? It's amazing that Trump has not pushed his DOJ to do this, because it was against Trump. So is he using this for leverage? I don't know. But if we are led by people who look out for their best interests, such as the cities, such as the Congress, such as the main government, and especially the other party, then how are they actually looking out for the American people? Well, they're not. So what does that mean for you? That means you better be independent and sustainable, because what we're realizing is you're not important. You're not the reason that they're in Washington. You're not the reason that they're winning. You're not the reason that you're losing. It is all held over your head, and ultimately you're the one that actually gets taken advantage of. They get your votes, but they also get your money, and then they roll over you. Is that the will of the people? Is that how America was supposed to be set up? Is that freedom, or is that tyranny? Yet, goose egg. And I mean, they said this story has been shared millions upon millions of times. Why has the people not been arrested? You know, it came out with this peace plan. I mean, Schumer, even Clinton, even Hillary Clinton, all these people who typically on the left all said that they didn't want to, but they all said that President Trump had a great peace deal. They congratulated him. Obama still didn't. Biden still didn't. Their administration still didn't. Well, because there's so much corruption in them, and they took advantage of the American people, but yet no one is arrested. It's unbelievable. I was supposed to end the video because that's really all I want to talk about, but I want to mention one more thing. You know, we talked about the churches and losing power in the cities. One thing, today is Charlie Kirk's birthday, and I wanted to end this video different. I wanted you to say, you know, they were giving him the Medal of Freedom. By now, if you're watching this video, you've already probably watched Trump's broadcast of that. If we get to the point where we don't find value in Christianity and the church, even the cities, but also the movement that Charlie started, then we won't have a country. All these stories that we talked about today really dealt with the fact of just immorality and sin, and we're all sinners. We all make mistakes, but it's also our personal responsibility to stand up And I love what Trump is doing here. I don't know Trump's faith. You know, we talked about the dangers of what he was talking about the other day about not being in heaven. I hope there's some great spiritual advisors that come around him, not the Paula Whites, but true people that want to see him understand repentance. I love the fact, though, that he's giving this award posthumously to Charlie Kirk, but also to Eric Kirk, because God can do so much through him. I think back in times of Scripture where God used Nebuchadnezzar or Darius or Cyrus or all these different kings and all these different leaders and all these different people who God used still in so many different facets. Old Testament, New Testament, doesn't matter. God is doing something, and it's either going to make the church get stronger and shine and have responsibility again, or we're going to fall by the wayside and keep seeing our cities crumble, keep seeing Congress make mistakes, and keep electing people who do bad things like Obama, like we talked about. I want to end this video. It's Charlie Kirk's birthday. You saw him get the award, or his wife get the award in honor of him. Let's do and be better. Let's have responsibility of serving and representing Christ. The cities are breaking down because the church lost its power. The country's breaking down because the church has lost its power. We need better leaders willing to stand up and be leaders. As we talked about with Tucker Carlson and Tim Burchett, most of our Congress are highly leveraged because of money or because of corruption or because of immorality, whatever it may be. It's time to have revival and reawakening. So I wanted to end this video a little bit different. Instead of just being the stories, just a little personal thing of saying, you know what? I hope God can use us more, and I hope that we're willing to be used and have the responsibility of serving God. We can make this country different. Peace in the Middle East at some point in fashion is great, but now let's focus back on American cities. Let's focus on building a Christ-centered way of living again. If it's just morals and values, great. But there's got to be something better than what we're dealing with, because our Congress has let us down, our leadership's let us down, they've taken advantage of us, and ultimately, until we're willing to admit that and stand up against it, we will keep falling by the wayside. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today's video. God bless.
Yeah, be free, be free, be free.